it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere.
How's it going, guys? Anxious Cynic back again, and I just want to thank you guys for all the submissions we got on the first ever weekly mine-imator tutorial animation compilation. I gotta come up with a shorter name than that. But yeah, like 15 of you guys submitted, so that was pretty crazy. I didn't know really what to expect, and it was a pretty good, pretty cool turnout, and I just want to once again thank you guys for participating, and we'll see how this thing goes from here on. As you may have noticed in this particular one, there's a couple of animations that didn't adhere to the orbiting camera theme. I went ahead and let them slide because this is the first time we're doing this, and I understand there's going to be some confusion. But now that we've got that out of the way, from here on I want to try to stick more strictly to the theme. So if you make an animation, it has to be in the theme of the previous week's tutorial. So this week is going to be the enchanted item tutorial, and if it's not, then I'm gonna have to disqualify it. Alright? We got the shenanigans out of the way to begin with, but now we gotta get serious, get down to business, if you know what I mean. So just want to go ahead and throw that out to you guys. And a little tweak to the rules that I wanted to bring up. I realized that it's actually a little bit difficult to keep up with the sound effects and music. It requires a lot more work on my end. I have to wait and like ask people where they're getting their music from and their sounds and stuff. So from here on, let's try to keep the sounds from a couple of sources that we know to be royalty and copyright free. One in particular for music is incompetech.com. I will leave a link in the description for you guys if you don't know about it. Most people know about it, but let's try to make all the music come from that site or from the YouTube sound library, which is also YouTube safe. Obviously, copyright royalty free sounds. They also have sound effects and whatnot. And you can use the Minecraft sounds because obviously Minecraft sounds are totally okay since it's Minecraft stuff. So let's try to narrow down the media sources to those few things so that way I don't have to employ much research into whether or not what you guys are putting in your animations is safe for YouTube upload. So once again, I'll have a link in the description and just use those from now on, please. And we'll hopefully streamline this and get all the kinks worked out. So there wasn't a whole lot of errors that I noticed. A lot of you guys, I understand, are still beginning, so some of it's just going to come in time. One thing I do get asked a lot, and I did notice it a little bit in a couple of the animations here, is timing. So I wanted to go ahead and just bring up something and show you guys a little bit of a tip. Let's go ahead and just bring in a character, and we'll do it real quick, one thing a lot of people do, and what I get asked about and whatnot is, let's say you want to have Steve lift his arm up or something. So in the beginning, you lift his arm up or whatever, and then sometime later on down the road, you have it down or something, and you want it to move again to lift up at another point, and you do it again. So when you play your animation, you've got his arm moving at the beginning, and then it moves up, and it's got this random movement. So a lot of times you may accidentally put this first keyframe. You don't want it there, but you were testing things out to begin with, or whatever the case may have been. You need to check your timeline for any unwanted keyframes, because that's what's going to drive all those movements. Anything that happens is going to be driven by a keyframe within the scene. Also, another thing you can do, instead of deleting this keyframe, if you wanted to have Steve at a certain position and you don't want him to move until a certain point, rather than deleting the keyframe, you can go to your keyframe transitions and make it instant, and then that will hold until he goes there. So like if I move the arm here, you'll see that it will stay there until that next keyframe, and then it immediately just jumps down because that's an instant keyframe. So it's not going to move in between those two keyframes because of that transition setting there. So that's one thing you can do. And another thing is, like if you're doing the automatic walk cycle, so let's go ahead and just plop down a couple of keyframes here, maybe that one there, and then we go back to the first one and we highlight it by double clicking on it, and we're going to give him the basic walk cycle thing there. And of course our arm is screwed up because I have those other keyframes there, and again, this is something you may not want to happen, so we're going to go to our keyframes and try to distinguish the ones that we created versus what the walk cycle created. And I'm going to say it's this one I don't want, so I'm going to get rid of it, and this one especially, and this one. So we're just going to go ahead and zero out that position because that's how the other arm is, and we should get that. Of course, the instant keyframe transition was left on, so I'm going to turn that off, and there. So you need to pay attention to your keyframes and make sure that all of the ones you don't want. See there again, his arm moves up all of a sudden because this keyframe that I created earlier shouldn't be there. So let's go ahead and weed all those out, and then you get the movement that you want. So that's two main tips that I can come up with to answer some of the questions I've been getting and some of what I saw in the animations here. Is you need to be very diligent about how you organize your keyframes and what's going on in them. Once again, here we go. He's doing the same thing, and of course it inherited the instant transition. So we're just going to take this one and bottom it back out, and there you go. You got the smooth movement as it should be. So it's really easy because mine-imator, what it does, let's go ahead and remove all of our keyframes here. Another little tip here is you can click on this button here, select all keyframes on this timeline, and you can hold the shift key and click on the other ones, and it will select each timeline, and then I can just hit delete and get rid of all of those at once instead of having to do them all at once. I mean, once. What is the word I'm looking for? Instead of having to do them separately. Something like that. There's words in there in the English language. Anyway, so I lost my place. What was I trying to say? Okay, I had to go back and review the video. I completely spaced and couldn't remember what the hell I was talking about. Anyway, what mine-imator does is if I go around any point in the timeline, let's say I put it on frame 35, if I do anything with Steve, I lift his arm up. I'm kind of addicted to moving his arms, I guess, for some reason. Anyway, anything I do, it automatically places keyframes for any movement that I make. So you may be trying to make your animation and you're doing things trying to pose the character or whatever, and you're not really paying attention to the fact that your cursor on the timeline is in a place where you don't want it to be, and it's going to create an unwanted keyframe. So if I wanted to have this animation start up with Steve in this position for whatever reason, because I'm amazing, I guess, then, it works for now. But if I go back in the beginning and add something and I'm like, oh, let's adjust his leg a little bit more. I want it to bend a little bit more or whatever. So then what you get is this unwanted movement in between those keyframes, where what I need to do is either go in and delete the ones I don't want, or if I'm moving something like, say, if it's the camera or an item and I want them to change positions instantly, then I can use the instant keyframe transition, as I said earlier. That's about it. Those are the main tips I could come up with for this video, guys. I hope it was helpful, and I look forward to the next tutorial, animation, compilation, sequence, submissions, whatever you want to call it. All right, so I'm not really sure about the release schedule just yet. This one I'm hoping will go up on Sunday. So my guess is for now, like I'm trying to feel it out and see when I want to do things and how my schedule is going to work out. So it'll probably be anywhere between Sunday and Tuesday of the next week. So try to keep that in mind that the compilation is most likely going to be going up either at the very end of the week or towards the very beginning of the week. We'll see how it goes, but that's kind of what I'm aiming for. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks again for contributing and submitting your animations. I hope you guys are having fun. I hope you're learning, and by sticking to the theme of the week, you get to exercise the tips and tricks that I show you in these tutorials. And yeah, here's to many more. So once again, thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video.